Avoir. Okay, welcome to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato, and I am the host of this little show. Today, I am joined by my spouse, Laurie.
Hello.
And our very, very good friend, Lily, is in the home studio.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Lily.
You're welcome.
This is going to be awesome. I'm so excited. I'm excited that you agreed to sit with us because I know that it's kind of a weird scenario. But this is not your first podcast.
That's right.
So you say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got to talk.
It's not our first rodeo.
It's my second.
Yes. Before we get started talking to Lily about her experiences, if you're new to the podcast, thank you so much for listening in. Historically, this show has interviewed local Boston area dog handling professionals, and we have chatted about our lives, dogs, and careers. And when I'm not doing that with somebody, Laurie and I oftentimes will do a deep dive on a specific dog training topic. Or I'll do a solo episode, do a book review, just whatever's rolling around in my head, I will spew out into the microphone. And if I do so, the episodes will come out on Fridays. So that's the deal here. If you have found yourself listening to the show and you're brand new, welcome and thank you. Okay, so Laurie, I'm going to let you take the lead on this little interview that we're going to do with our dear friend Lily here.
Okay, well, first we have Lily today. She was a... Thank you, everybody. And then, so I wanted to set up 3 people right away. And the first one is Lily of the Trifecta. Next week is Renee from Transformation Spa talking about grooming again and your dog, mostly because somebody messaged me about their dog having a fear of the vet. I texted Renee. A fear of the groomer. I texted Renee and she said, sure, she can talk about that if your dog has a fear and how they get through it and how to trust your groomer to get your dog from I hate grooming to this isn't as bad as I thought. And the next one after that, the third, will be Claudia McNulty, who breeds German Shepherds. And I think that she would be a great person to talk to for finding out facts about responsible breeders, her breeding program, and everything that she's accomplished with her dogs, including IPO. So, isn't that great?
I think that it's amazing that you have taken the reins and set up these wonderful interviews. I'm looking forward to them very, very much.
I'm here for you.
You are.
Yeah, you are. So now it's Lily, and Lily was a poor, unsuspecting client of ours. And I'll let her tell her story, but I just wanted to talk to Lily because she was a normal, everyday pet parent that came in and wanted dog training. And how many years later, Lily?
3.
3 years later, Bella is a therapy dog. She has obedience titles and she uses several tools in dog training. And I thought it would be nice for somebody to see her progression and what it was like for her to get a dog and then go from that point. So, Lily.
All right. So my dog Bella is 3 years old. She was rescued from Schultz's guest house in Dedham.
Same place as Ruben.
Yay. So she's a German Shepherd Lab mix of sorts. And we got her when she was about 3-ish months old. So my husband and I waited until we moved into a house so that we could have a yard and just be a little bit more established together before getting a dog. And when we got Bella, we, were informed as far as like what it takes to own a puppy, the hard work it takes, potty training and doing all of the regular obedience training. But I definitely don't think we really knew what we were getting ourselves into, especially knowing that we were getting a dog that we didn't know where she came from or what her genetic material was going to entail. So it's been a journey.
Is there a reason you went to a rescue over a breeder?
For Matt and I, we just felt like the whole rescue situation was going to be fine because we didn't have a specific breed that we were tied down to. So because of that, it didn't necessarily warrant a breeder. I think if we both were, decided that we both wanted a boxer or a golden retriever or a lab, it would have been a different story. But we were very open to any breed of dog and felt like, you know what, let's just go to a rescue.
Nobody's allergic.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you ended up with, and Bella has her own Instagram.
Bella does have her own Instagram.
What is it?
It's Bella's Flying Ears.
And she does have major helicopter ears.
Major.
And if you go to Therapy Dog Buddha, you'll see Bella in a lot of pictures because they are definitely good friends. Him and Bella are besties.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you should check out those 2 Instagram pages. Mm-hmm. So you felt ready to get a dog once you had a house and a yard. You felt like you needed those things.
Yeah, we were in a small apartment, and it just didn't seem like it was going to be fair to the dog to get a place that they would be stuck inside all day.
All right.
Yeah.
So now you can just tell me about training.
Yeah. So
How'd you find us? When
how did you find us?
Yeah, when you were like, oh shit,
yeah,
I need a trainer.
How did you stumble upon ABC dog training?
Did you look for a trainer? Because you were like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah. So
what did I do?
So we got the dog, but we also knew like before getting the dog that we would need training. I also thought that training entailed maybe like 5 or 6 visits.
Oh.
Yeah.
How many are you in deep now?
Years. But I definitely, I was like, you know what, 5 or 6 visits and like we'll get down those basic, commands and things will just like really even out from there. But it turns out that's actually not how it works. It's so much more than that. When we first got Bella, it was very clear from the beginning that her energy level was through the roof. And figuring out a plan for that was going to be important. So back to training. At first, we looked at like the whole PetSmart and big box places.
Petco, PetSmart.
Yeah. And then a coworker of mine suggested Lori and said, if you're actually serious about dog training, this is the person to go to. So reached out, started with our training, and that's that.
Did you go? Did you meet me and you're like, ew? Oh, she's too much. Too much.
I mean, Matt definitely was like, how many times are we going to have to go? Like, what's, like, at what point are we done? I was like, oh, Matt, we're never done. We're never done.
Oh, no.
So started with like a basic obedience pack, did the 4-pack private lessons. At what point did you guys start coming to group classes?
It was probably, I don't know, like 3 months later.
Okay, so still a puppy. She's coming to group classes. And when did you start wanting to use the electric collar for off-leash stuff, and then we started working together? Because you did all your classes with Laurie, and then you switched over to doing them with me.
Yeah. The e-collar was probably in like the last 6 to 9 months, I would say I switched over. Just because we were off leash all the time and like to go different places and just wanted super reliability and being outdoors.
Yeah. And can you speak a little bit to that? Like, basically my whole philosophy with using the e-collar is I love it when the dog is already trained, because you don't really need to do anything once the dog is trained in order to be able to reinforce the recall when there's distractions with the e-collar. I've found that the whole, with quotations like conditioning phase of the training or trying to teach the dog like what the tool means happens really fast. And you would be an example of somebody that did it very quickly. So basically what other people will spend thousands of dollars and board and train their dog to have off-leash reliability with the e-collar, you were able to do in like 2 sessions. And I think by the 3rd session, we were just like in the woods chatting while our dogs were off the leash. Like, can you kind of basically reinforce what I'm saying with your own experience, just so that I'm not the only one who's saying it all the time?
Yeah.
Wait, and then one thing is, add to it is, did you have any hesitation with using the electric collar? Because there's a stigma around it sometimes with pet parents, and just what your life is like, because every weekend you go away.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Well, I think like even before getting Bella, there was thoughts in my head about what a dog should be, how they should act, and how I would train the dog. So I think even something as using the prong collar was like super scary. And when that was first introduced, you're like, this is going to work great. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And I like took it home and I just put it like on the shelf because I was like, well, when I'm ready for that, like I'll use it. And then like we talked about it and I figured out what it does, how to use it, how it's best used for Bella, and how she's going to respond to it, and that it's actually not a bad tool. But I was definitely very nervous about even just the prong collar.
Sure.
So that has been just like a lifesaver. And I mean, I guess the other thing too is like just walking down the street and you see dogs walking with their owners and they're like 10 feet ahead of them. I just kind of thought that that's how people walk their dogs, you know,
Yeah.
like pulling and all over the place. And I just thought that was dog walking until like you realize, you know, you can have your dog just walk right beside you and you can go on a great walk together without any of the pulling.
Right.
You know? But for the e-collar, we definitely worked really hard to make sure that her recall was 100% before even introducing the e-collar. And I think that gets overlooked a lot because people are very dependent upon the e-collar for recall rather than having recall and then the e-collar.
Mm.
So because we take her to the woods nearly every single day, we had to make sure that when she was off, she was actually coming back.
Every day.
So before you introduce the tool, you would have her on a long line?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And that long line dragged for a long time.
Mm.
A long time.
Yeah, I have a hard time taking off a line on a dog until I trust them enough.
Yeah, totally.
I usually make the line thinner and thinner until it disappears. The dog doesn't come one time when I call him. A leash goes back on and we kind of start over again. I don't trust them again.
Yeah, I think that it's really fun for me to see you guys out there having a good time. And for me, one of the things I was thinking about today are all of the activities I do with my dog. And if I had to pick one, what would it be? Because I'm sure we're going to talk about, like, you do scent work with Bella, you're doing obedience with her, you're doing rally with her. She's an amazing dog and she's very capable, and you guys are going above and beyond a normal client would go with her. So I do want to move on to those other topics too. But the thing that I would want to do with my dog if I didn't have Frisbee or if I didn't have gun dog training or obedience training is hike with my dog.
For sure.
That's like the one thing, like lose everything else, lose the cuddles, lose the everything, because I just see how it positively affects their behavior. I think because they're able to run around and just like be a dog. Like dogs are not meant to be on a leash all the time when they're outside. I think it's great to be able to teach them how to walk, but as far as like being mentally and physically fulfilling, like there's nothing like watching a dog just run around.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like it. Like in the woods, free to do whatever they want. And especially for me, like a lot of the dogs that I hike off leash are a little leash reactive when they're on the leash. Most of the time, not for me, but like for their parents. And to be able to see some of those behavior change for the better when I do go to put the leash on them, I think because I have a relationship where like they listen to me, it makes it a lot easier to kind of tackle some of those other behavioral issues. So it's awesome to see you guys out there having a good time. And also probably the only thing where you can give Matt the tool and be like, here, do this. And he can actually do it because he doesn't do all of those other activities with Bella.
Right. Exactly.
So it's awesome to see. What else you got for Lily Laurie?
Nothing. I was just thinking about probably what you wanted from Bella when you first started to where you are now. And then I know this is like skipping a beat because when I had Buddha, I just cared that he was obedient. I was never going to compete with him. And look at how far you are.
Yeah.
And like, look at how far I am. And it only means that like the next dog your expectations are just so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like, oh, I want a well-behaved dog. And and even to the point where you're like, you know what? Well-behaved dog, but you didn't even know like what walking, and now like sometimes you'll send me videos on Instagram of this high level IPO healing. This looks good. See this twist? Did you see this turn? I was like, yeah, Lily, what are you doing, man? We're like,
do it?
Yeah, we'll dress in a police uniform next week and we'll get all of this shit done. Let me get my baton and hop skippity. And meanwhile, Matt's like, I just want to go for a walk in the woods. But I think
he doesn't even want to go in the woods. Let's face it.
Yeah, well, like every spouse has their thing. Like, Ruben and Raven, they listen to Leah more than they listen to me, and I think Bella listens to you more than she listens to me. Like she's with Matt, she's like, oh, come on, let's go have a beer, we'll go for a walk, we'll end up somewhere, I'll bring you home. Yeah. And when she goes with you, she's like, okay, we're going on an adventure, excellent. And she's very much she's doing the itinerary for the activity. She's not serious, but she's very put together. Like I imagine her in a business suit, and she's like, okay, this is what we're doing today. She has a planner.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like Bella's that kind of dog.
Yeah, she's smart.
Like, Buddha does not have a planner. No. He's like, he just keeps trying. Anyway, I was just thinking about your expectations and then what might happen with your next dog.
Her next dog is going to be like a Malinois or something crazy.
I know. I'm going to do the Schutzend.
So where was the jump between we're doing kind of basic obedience pet training, you're out having a great time with Bella, bringing her to camp, bringing her on walks, to you wanted to give the competition obedience a try? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't even know anything about AKC obedience and rally before you got going. What was the journey like with that? Like, what influenced you? Obviously we did, but if you could talk a little bit more about that. And then what's the training been like on the road to kind of getting into that whole scene?
Yeah. I definitely knew nothing about rally or obedience beforehand. I think the only thing, most people know is just regular, Westminster dog show.
And that's either neither, because that's all confirmation.
Right? Put on your white shoes and your dress. We're running.
Right. And, and people know about agility. But I would say other than that, there's so many other dog sports out there that people just don't know about. Right. So once you guys introduced me to rally and obedience, I was like, you know what, maybe we could try this. But also because Bella's energy level was just so high that we had to figure out how are we going to just mentally exhaust her. And that was really hard to do. Our schedule when we first got her was absurd because it was like an hour in the crate, then an hour of training, and then an hour back in the crate, and then outside to go to the bathroom, and then another hour in the crate, and then another hour of training. And just trying to figure out how to best manage her was really hard. So
because she had so much energy.
Yeah. And she couldn't settle. And all we wanted was for her to just settle.
We just laid down.
She wouldn't lay down.
Right. Unless you said to her, lay down, and then she would wait for you to release her from the down.
I think the most uncomfortable I ever saw her was when I put her in place, because she was waiting for the next thing, and she was just staring at us and wanted to know what's next, and she just wouldn't settle. And I was like, here I am trying to find a way for you to settle on place, and she couldn't. It stressed her out to be there.
Now, how is she now that she's 3?
She's a completely different dog.
Okay, so it was like a puppy adolescent stage, and now her temperament has mellowed out a bit.
Yeah, it definitely took a good 2 years, I would say, ish, to get there, but it was challenging.
Yeah, and that's right about when you started doing other stuff with her.
Right. Yeah. So we started doing some rally training, mostly at Auntie Dog. And just kept practicing, and then went to our first competition, and that was terrifying. Lori's like, just right this way, come right in. And there's 4 million people, and there's no place for your crate. And she's like, nope, you're just going to put it right here, right in the corner. You're going to be fine. I think Masterpiece.
Oh, you've done all your trialing at Masterpiece then?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough.
And I was like, this was a bad decision.
I'm like, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Let's fuck up, soldier.
Yeah.
We're going to just twirl around. Here we go.
Oh, that's such a difficult place to trial for the first time.
It's definitely tight, and you have to kind of muscle your way in as far as crates go, and everybody's dog is in everyone else's area. You just have to make sure you mind your dog's space.
Yeah, the floor at Masterpiece is particularly smelly.
Leah feels that way.
Yeah. It can be.
It can be. Raven overcame, but it's a tough place to trial. So what did you do first, rally or obedience? What was your first trial?
We did rally first.
Rally.
Okay.
I felt like that was a little bit more of like an easier transition into the world of competition.
Completely.
I could do so much more talking and guiding. So I like that more. But I don't know if Bella necessarily liked that as much.
She's pretty serious.
Yeah, she's very serious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she is. So you did rally, and then did you do the obedience in the same trial as rally, like two runs?
No,
Or you came
no,
down
we
just
took-
for one.
Yeah, we took a break from rally and then switched over to obedience for a little bit.
So wait, you got your rally novice title,
Yes,
and then you
our,
went to obedience.
and our rally intermediate. And
Nice.
then
Novice, intermediate, and then
obedience.
like
Beginner novice. Yes.
You got it.
Yeah, you guys did great. I was there for all three of your runs.
Yeah.
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 Definitely.
Togetherness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there with Raven. Got to see Lily. Poor thing waited around all freaking day. I was like, I felt so bad.
All day affair.
Yeah. They usually are, but they always run the beginners dead last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And poor Lily was there at the same time I was, and my class went before hers. So
the
she was chomping at the bit for a while there because it's stressful, like leading up to your run, you know.
And your dog, depending on the dog, can get tired because even though they're in their crate, it's stimulating having all this traffic go by. But it's just, you know, sometimes you'll say at the end of the night, I'm so tired, but I don't know why. I don't know if I did that much. The dogs are just like passed out when they come home. It's so much stimulation. And then you throw them in the ring and you're like, okay, let's totally focus. This is going to be great. It's so unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, all the beginner classes, they're all at the end of the day. And when you go on to the plan for the day, if you look at the program, it will say afternoon.
Yes.
It's like, well, what time is that?
There's never a time.
Yeah, it's not 1:30, 2:33. So if you think if things are running on time, that you're definitely going to be in the ring at 2:30. And then you get there and you don't go in the ring until 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And that's rough. I mean, on AKC, on obedience pages on Facebook, so many newbies ask, this says afternoon. There are 30 people in the class before me, so we'll average 5 minutes per person. Oh, but what if it goes quickly? You don't know.
Not in obedience.
And if you miss your run,
No, obedience always takes forever.
yeah, and if you miss your run, and even rally, I mean, you're
No,
lucky if you're in there for 2 minutes.
I think that rally runs on time, if not sometimes ahead of time. And then obedience is usually
It's not
very
always.
late.
It's either early or late.
But I feel like rally,
not on
rally
time.
has more of a chance. There's
Yeah.
more of a chance of being closer to the time that you would predict. I know that Lily has some big ideas for the AKC on how they could
Yes.
hurry up
I'm going
their
to change
system.
the world.
I'm gonna
change the world. I'm going to put everything online. So you're going to be able to sign up from one website.
Heresy.
Yeah. And then there's going to be real-time tracking. So you know exactly how they're running, when to leave your house. Mm-hmm. It's going to be great.
So when I do Updog, they have this. They have a Google Doc where somebody on the sidelines will put the dog that is currently doing their run, and so I can be sitting in my car, cooling myself off, cuddling with Ruben, because that's what I do in between runs when I go with him. We have our nice little alone time.
That's nice.
And I can literally look at my phone and be like, oh, Heiser just went. Oh, Axel's just went. And it's really nice because I'm never in a rush because I can see kind of what's going on. But the AKC has a very particular way of doing things, and it is probably not as efficient as it could be. However, I am eternally grateful for those folks who do keep everything nice and organized.
Me too.
So, yeah. But really great job. Are you going to go on? Okay, so we did our beginner novice title. We can go on to the CD and Rally Advanced, which both have off-leash exercises. How are you feeling about doing off-leash exercises with Bella in the ring?
Very anxious. That's what's holding me back.
Really?
Yeah.
She's not going to leave you.
No,
That's
she's not going
not
to
a
leave
question.
me. It's, it's just like a part of like my own internal disappointment factor of like, she just starts like wandering and then it's over and then you leave. And it's just kind of, sad.
Yeah.
Lily's a little type A too.
I'm like, if we're going to go, we're going to go. We're going to kill it. We're going to come back with a ribbon.
Yeah, right. And did you place in all of
that's
your
the
beginner
idea.
novice?
I've never not placed.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
So see what's happening here? She's like, I have never not placed.
I
Laurie.
need a ribbon. I do
Right.
it for the ribbons.
You're so pretty in blue. Red's okay. Yellow. And then white. It goes blue, red,
And
yellow, and white.
the
1, 2,
success
3,
rate,
4.
not to scare you, because I know you know this already, but it goes after you get out of
Leah.
it. I'm telling you, it's hard. This shit is hard.
I mean, if that's not the boost I
I
need, I don't know
know.
what it is.
I think advanced you'll be fine. It's just I saw her face during a rally trial and she came up on a sign and the healing was good. She said sit, and Bella, the smartest, chart making dog. She was like, I don't recall that word at all.
Never heard that before.
And then
in my
I
life.
saw panic flash across Lily's face, and I'm on the sideline. You can't coach anyone from the sideline. I may have said out loud, "Don't give up." She had to repeat it again. She comes out, I had to repeat a command, Laurie. And I was like, the horror. Oh. I did. I saw your whole, I go, oh no, guys, Lily's getting nervous.
I mean, if she can't remember that, then we have a problem.
Where's your automatic sit? That's the other thing. It was,
Yes.
It should have been automatic.
Yes.
'Cause you stopped. Hey, weird stuff happens in that ring.
Yes.
You just gotta like cross yourself and say your mantra before you go in, because anything can happen. I know you train for it, but it is
Anything can.
it is
I mean, you're in
not
there
an easy
for
thing.
A minute to 2 minutes
I know.
if you're lucky.
The rally is so fast.
Then you're judged on that non-sit. Oh, I guess the sitter's broken. A lot of people come out of the ring. I mean, one time Buddha just stopped and was looking at the crowd. I was like, this is so stupid. You could have seen them from your crate when you were in the crowd. Okay, so Lily has never not placed. This is amazing. This is like me always having a qualifying rally run until the very end. Busted my ovaries. Almost had a clean record.
I went from working with a dog that never even finished a run, my dear Ruben, and Raven's always pleased.
Oh, we have another one, folks.
I endured failure. I remember being in the ring with Ruben, and I did the stand, and he stood, and the judge like walked by, and he just says to me, "Just take him out of here. He's way too nervous." I'm like, "It's fine, thank you." It was just like poor guy. Yeah, I tried like 4 times in obedience, and I just couldn't manage it. So thankfully we have other activities that he enjoys, and if he did nothing but lie on the couch, I'm pretty sure he would be happy. What I have learned in the 6 years of owning him is he is a cat.
No, he loves a woods run.
He does, but that dog loves to lay around.
And he has a rally novice title.
Yeah.
He does.
See?
Yes, he does.
That's
He suffered through that for me.
He just didn't like obedience.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, she's going to touch me. Oh my God, mother. And you're like, go ahead, honey. Let the stranger touch you. Go ahead.
The poor thing.
Me too.
Okay, so obedience, gonna do CD off leash stuff is going to be a challenge because you're nervous about it. How are you preparing for that specific activity with Bella? Besides me making you do it in front of all the people in class anytime I teach.
Just class and going back to training.
Okay, so like
Yeah.
in the context of group class, just for people that are listening that wouldn't know anything about our group classes, if we were going to do, like if you were going to practice that in group, what would it look like?
Just having her off leash at different like points and knowing that she's under my control at that time.
Yeah. And are you
You
using
know.
like food to lure? Or are you stopping to train? Like in your mind, like do you want it to look like it will in a trial, or are you using that like as a training opportunity and, using food, using marker system, stuff like that?
I would say mostly food at this point, just because Bella is like so food motivated that like oftentimes at class, like she can actually get distracted because she saw a treat fall on the ground behind, something. And that's the only thing she's focusing on. So,
Yeah. So using class as a spot to work with distractions.
Mhm,
Yeah.
for
We
sure.
did some off leash stuff off the leash outside and she did really well.
Yeah,
So I know it's off leash healing is very difficult.
it is.
So you're not the only one
Yeah.
who struggles. Oh my gosh, it's so
We used
so
toy
hard.
reward last class. That went pretty well.
She loves a good toy.
Yeah. Oh, she did? I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
And you've also been experimenting with some scent work stuff with Bella. So how is
Yeah.
that going and what does it entail?
That's been a lot of fun. We just signed up for a intro class to learn about the world of nose work. And basically we just started out with some food in boxes and her sniffing out the food. And then we started pairing it with odor.
What kind of odors?
Like the most popular ones, anise, clove.
I've never taken a scent work class.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Anise,
interested.
clove, and I can't remember, birch?
Anise, clove, and birch.
Yeah.
Well, I'd
Depending
definitely be able
upon
to
which-
smell that clove.
Yeah, depending
College
on
life. Go ahead, sorry.
No, depending upon the organization, they have different scents that they'll use. AKC, UKC, and all the different ones.
Oh,
Yeah. So Bella has like these scent pods at home that have like a combination of the scents in them, anise and clove. And so I started doing like games with her using those. So I would hide them around the house, have her find them, and then reward her. And so I knew she loved that. So we signed up for the class, and then she's like crazy about it. She loves it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
so you bought those before the class?
Yeah.
Where'd you buy them?
Amazon? Yeah.
Overprepared.
So you went on Amazon. You were like, I want to do scent work.
Yeah.
Let me go get some pods to put some smells in.
Well, I wasn't going to invest in all of the tins and then the scents.
Okay.
And, the whole 9 yards, because you can buy a kit for, a couple $100. But I said, why don't
From where?
Amazon.
Again, Amazon? So
Yeah.
all of your scent
Or
work
like
stuff.
like Learberg, you can get like a whole scent pack.
Okay. So if you're like a dog connoisseur, dog sport
Yeah.
AKC
Yeah.
scent connoisseur,
Yeah.
you're going to Learberg and you're buying
Yeah.
the whole
The
thing.
whole kit and caboodle.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, but instead I bought like the family friendly version of just pre-packed little like pods that are very user friendly. That I literally just put it in front of her nose and gave her a treat, and then put her in front of her nose and gave her a treat, and we did that about 5 or 6 times, and then I just hid them, and she found them.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Got to use that sniffer.
Then you
Yeah.
went to class. Where did you go to class?
we signed up for a class at Pet Pals, where they
In Woburn.
yeah
Okay.
for like doggy daycare. So the whole place is like just like smells.
Reeks.
I mean, it's clean in there. It is
It's clean.
Yeah, but there's so many dogs that come in and out of there. And
but it smells.
yeah.
So the fact that she can do this,
In there.
in there is pretty awesome. And it was with like 5 other dogs. So as each dog goes, like odor moves, which like you don't realize that like the odor's spreading from one box to the next box. Because if they're smelling it in one and then smelling the next one, the odor has now moved. So the dog really needs to know where like the strongest odor is.
All right. It's cool.
I'm dealing with some semi the same thing with Raven in the retriever training, because when the duck is on the ground, the odor is closest to the duck, obviously. But if the wind comes, it's going to push the odor around, and the dog might start tracking. And if the dog is upwind, might miss it. So it really is a thing. And it was so funny too, because not to get off track, but when we went to training on Tuesday, I had Raven retrieve 2 ducks. And the second duck, she didn't retrieve super cleanly. So I wanted to give her like an easy one for the third. So I asked them to throw a bumper. And she picked up the bumper, and with the bumper in her mouth was sniffing the ground. And the lady was like, she's looking for the duck. And I'm over there tweeting my whistle, trying to get her to come in.
Oh, man, she wanted the duck. So do you think if you had the duck, it would have been cleaner? Like a cleaner retrieve, get it and come back?
I'm learning just as much as the next guy. I have no idea. I thought I would make it easy for her because she picks up, everything goes good, then she kind of drops halfway. I think part of the issue with Raven is she runs so fast and the duck's in her mouth. She doesn't hold on to it and it just flies out. And then she's like slows down, screeches back, goes. She's not like trotting back to me nicely to be able to hold it in her mouth. So we've been working on that in the yard at like shorter distances. But it was funny to see her like working with her nose out there trying to find the scent. And they'll even say like, you know, when you have the ducks in a bag, like never put the bag on the ground if you're walking out somewhere, because
I also feel that
they'll
way.
stop and like sniff in that spot. So it's so interesting, like, because we don't have a good sense of smell. Sometimes I think we forget that
I do.
Dogs have like such a good sense of smell. So yeah, like doing little things with them to work on that or encourage it, it's like actually pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
So definitely not keen on that world, but I think it's awesome that you're doing that with her.
Mm-hmm.
And that she's excelling.
I'm sorry?
well.
I was just like, if I had a dead, like when you said Raven races back with the dead duck,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I would too. So I could give it back. Stop throwing it out there.
Oh my God, she's so funny with that stuff. I've been really struggling, but she's. If I could make a graph of our progress, it would just look like a bunch of up and down lines that like very slowly move up the y-axis. But it's like we'll have a really good day, then we'll have a bad day. We'll have a good day, then a bad day. And it's just all about having more good days than bad days. And that's how it works with
That's
that
how
kid.
training is.
That's how training is, yeah. That is exactly how training is when you're doing something so specific.
A fella came to drop off his dog today. And you were practicing the duck in the yard. Was it this morning or yesterday?
It was this morning.
This morning. He looks over because I was like 2 seconds. You know, he was waiting. He looked at me and he said, "Is that a real dead duck?" I said, "Yes, it is." He's like, "Oh." That's why the dogs like to roll around in that grass a lot.
They do.
It's like, what type of place is this?
I know. Meanwhile, there's no rabbits in the yard. They're like, they do shit to ducks in this yard. Don't go there. Leah's just flinging it around. Come on, Dad. Oh, she's out there with the duck again.
Hey, I have to do it for training.
I get it.
And of course, my dog, I have to do it more than probably any other person, because the poor thing is just like, what do you want from me? It's like, gotta hold the hand. It's really something. I'm looking forward to it, though. I have some really cool stuff. A seminar coming up I'm really excited about. And we got Tuesday night training. Excited about that, too. And the only thing that stinks about Tuesday night training with Raven is that I miss our PAT class on Tuesday night at Auntie Dog for Obedience, which you're going to start coming to, right, Lily?
Yes, whenever I can.
Yeah, the competition obedience class, because you're in that next level now.
Yeah.
So,
But
that'll be
you get
awesome.
Pat on Mondays.
I do.
I just fill every day with training.
I do as much as I possibly can.
I work on something every day with Buddha. Lily, do you work on something every day with?
Usually after dinner.
Yeah.
After dinner, we do just, even if it's just like a handful of things, we'll do a few things.
The send out.
The send out. I love the send out. Sometimes I'll do some like scent work and just hide some stuff in the house. And then we'll do like positions and whatever. But even just 5 minutes, like she's pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, I know. I do it too. I'm
Yeah.
like, I promised Pat I would practice. That's what like makes me practice. Because if it was one of my customers, I'd be like, why didn't you practice? And I can't lie.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, my dentist will be like, you need to floss. And she says, did you floss? I said, yes. Because I can't lie to her and I do it. Because I know it would be disappointing if I didn't.
And it's like you can be really motivated one day and want to train for 25 minutes, but your dog probably won't allow you to do that. But if you trained for 5 minutes, 5 days in a row, you'd get more work done. That's been the most humbling thing for me with training dogs, is like making sure that I'm doing something every day, because you can't like skip a bunch of stuff and then wait till the last minute and try to cram it in. It never works. But if you can manage to do something like a little bit every day, that's where you'll see progress. And I think that that's where people fall off. That's where they fall off in every single thing that they try to do in life. It's like you have this good idea in the moment and you do it for like a week and then it goes away. And something that helps keep me really motivated is like signing up for trials, even if I'm not super ready, which I am not doing. So I am having to self-motivate and be disciplined because I'm not ready to do any trials. But
I'm not either.
Yeah, I feel like even knowing that, like, all right, I'm going to class on Monday morning with Pat, like, I'm going to do my field training, like, check, like, having those little milestones, like, makes me want to practice during the week because I know that I want to see improvement every time I go, which I'm sure you do too, Lily, like, when you do the scent stuff and whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And, yeah, showing up for you and your dog. I think the thing about Bella that maybe made you have to rise to the occasion is like her energy level. She's definitely more of like a working dog.
For sure.
Even though you got her from a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a testimony to you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
So you could get a dog that's like a couch potato, or you could get a dog that's like Bella, where if you hadn't kind of gone down the road for training, hopefully, at least she would have wound up like with the e-collar and off-leash stuff. But who knows?
Yeah. I think in my mind, I always thought that breeders were for breed-specific dogs. I didn't know enough about breeders to know that they produce like temperament. They produce like, good health. They produce like so many more things than just a specific breed. So that's what you're paying for. You're not necessarily just paying for like one specific breed. You get a package in some sense.
Right.
Whereas when you go to a rescue, like you're rescuing an animal whose genetics are just so unpredictable that you really have no idea what you're going to get.
Yeah, so you've kept in touch with some of Bella's litter mates.
Yes.
What are they like?
So one of them got returned to the shelter, but has been readopted. But is also right now going through e-collar training and obedience training. And they're working really hard with the dog to get them in a better spot because of the energy level. And then another one got adopted into a family that had a dog that was very well behaved. And the contrast between the two of them was just like day and night.
Right.
So they were struggling as well. So it is interesting to see that like her whole litter is just
very high energy.
Very, very high energy.
So when you're talking about keeping her crated, like you said, you had a schedule, you were crating her and then training her and then bathroom. That wasn't necessarily because you wanted to crate her that much. It was because she just would never settle.
Right. So for the first 3 weeks before we met you, Bella was out and it was like, who's watching Bella? Who's watching Bella? Who's watching her? And she just obviously wouldn't stop. But also, like, she was a puppy. So, like, that's pretty understandable, too. But we didn't really know how to, like, manage it. Like, how would you know how to manage a animal that, like, just never stopped?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So some parents, and like, you'll talk to some friends and you're like, we don't have to crate them that much. That is true. Sometimes you'll have a puppy where you don't actually have to crate them that much. Mm-hmm. Especially after they get over the whole screaming in the crate from puppy time. And like sometimes you have to. Like with Buddha, I'm pretty sure he'd lay around all day, but he didn't care about me, so I had to crate him to get his attention. And then you get a dog who's like, I think Quincy's a good example. Quincy the black lab. She's chill in the crate. She can walk around and she's really not getting in any trouble.
Yeah, you should talk to Rosa about the difference between Quincy and Raven.
Yeah, like Quincy's just gonna lay down. Raven is just like, her job is to just walk around constantly at a fast pace, wagging her tail with a toy in her mouth.
Well,
like, it's never stopped.
Rose is Laurie's mom. She went downstairs the other day to help Laurie in a class because Laurie was in a class with this little black lab Quincy. And Rosa comes upstairs and is like, "Oh my God, that dog doesn't do anything. She just sits there.
She doesn't even move."
It's not like this one. I can't even pet this one."
Rosa tries to catch her with her one good eye. She's like, "I can't even see her. It's all a blur." Their one good eye.
It's true. And that's something to. That's a testament to like every dog is different. Like if you're like Ruben, he never messed in the crate when we got him. He was very calm actually outside the crate. We got him at like 12, 14 weeks. He was so much more mellow than Bella.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a rescue, came from Schultz, adopted at the same exact age, obviously a smaller dog, like didn't know his genetics, like got the embark test, but who even knows, you know. I feel like with Bella, you can definitely see the shepherd in her looks and in her like intensity and temperament and stuff. But yeah, like you just don't know. You really are like for better or for worsing it with a rescue dog. And if you get a dog that has that higher level of energy, like as an owner, you have to step up to the plate or rehome the dog. But I think that that's just something that people need to recognize before they rescue is like, if you get a dog that is going to be a little bit too much to handle, like you need to be the adult and find a trainer that's going to help you and invest. And like for me and you, it's not as much of a like monetary investment. Like I'll text Lily and be like, "Want to go on a walk?" Sure. And like, we'll just like hang out now. Obviously you did a lot of work with us in the beginning. So like, I actually would enjoy that experience with you now. But it's, you know, a different vibe between us. But I'm sure that, like you said, like you didn't realize that it was going to be such like a kind of holistic experience to keep going and going. And I think if you wanted to stop and just be like, "Hey, I'm just happy my dog can be off the leash. We can travel with her. She likes to play ball." Like you wouldn't have to see us anymore for sure. Like you'd be fine. But having these bigger goals, obviously it's great to be able to work together.
Yes, we didn't trap her.
Yeah.
It's of her own will.
It's willing. It's a willing discipline.
But now there's one more thing that you do with Bella. You do therapy work.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us where you do therapy work.
So we go to Woburn High School. Mostly visit the Best Buddies program, but also some of the other classrooms. The principal has been kind enough to give me basically free reign of the school to visit whoever is in need of a visit. So we've been doing that for a couple of years now.
Why? Why do you want to do therapy work with your dog? That's always the question that Liz would ask anyone who's taken an introductory class to it.
Yeah. I would say as a nurse, I saw a lot of dogs come into the hospital, and I thought that was pretty cool because you could instantly see a change in patients just by seeing a dog versus anybody else. So if you can change someone with just the visit of a dog, then why not do it?
Yeah,
you know?
just hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Yeah. So I remember being at Lowe's once with Bella, and there was like a group of like maybe like 6 older special needs folks there. And they all just swarmed her and asked if they could pet her. And she sat there and like was totally fine and calm. And I was like, I think we could do this. So then we started training for a long time.
So just basic obedience is basic obedience is covered for the TDI test. So Lily is with Therapy Dogs International too, just because that's who I knew and that's who I started with. I thought their program was good, and I like the way it's set up too. Like once you take the test, and then once you take the written test, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Some therapy dog organizations actually follow you around.
Right.
On your first visit, is it? Or a couple visits?
At least, I think it's many visits.
Yeah, I really like to, I mean, we follow the rules. We read all the rules. So things like the dog must be on leash all the time. The dog cannot have stuffed animals. They cannot have gifts. They cannot eat. They cannot drink during a visit. So I do like that kind of freedom. It's very much on you how you behave with your dog, and then we fine tune from there. I mean, you start off one place with therapy visits, and then you realize you're like, I'm going to save the world with my dog because I did sign up for, I said to Leah, I said, what am I doing in this world, right? How am I contributing? If I volunteer, then at least that's something I'm doing for somebody else. Like I have to know that I made a difference somewhere. And if I can do it with my dog, thank God, because anything if it takes the attention away from me, like I'm always so happy to be his Uber driver. And then when he goes there, they're like, Buddha. They're never like, Lori. That's fine with me. So I was like, oh, I can make a dent in someone's day. And like, I was really sick and my dog gave me a reason to get up every day. I was like, that's why I did it. You did it because you're a nurse and you saw how it affected patients. Like I said, gave me a reason to, wake up every day. Got to take care of the dog. How's she going to make it without me? I got to go. And then you realize you have to taper back a little bit on visits.
Yeah.
So Lily called me one day. I'm like, oh, you should talk about this on the podcast so that if people do therapy work with their dog, okay, go.
Yeah. So let's see. I thought I was going to be at the school the entire day, visiting everyone, and that would be fine. So I quickly learned that actually wasn't going to work out. That Bella would be mentally exhausted, like so quickly. So just seeing one classroom was going to be a lot, depending upon how long we stayed in the room. But I realized that depending upon how people are petting her, touching her, interacting with her, all of that was going to change how she was going to react. So I didn't want her to be in a situation where she wasn't comfortable or she was starting to get stressed out. And that's what I was starting to discover, was that at some point she was getting stressed.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of stimulation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially if the kids are like, the dog is there for me to pet. It's like there's even more petting than there would be if it was like a pet dog or whatever. So time wise, like 45 minutes an hour, is that what your visits are?
Yeah. I would say no more than an hour. And then, but learning more, like what is her point where I have to say enough?
Her threshold.
Yeah. And knowing to stop before that.
Yeah, totally.
So
smart.
Yeah.
So smart you are.
Yeah. And then I don't need to go every week.
Right. I said that. I was also going every week.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know how to, I mean, of course it's a time commitment, but I was at the library and then I was at the school. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even do every other week at the library. I had to taper down to once a month at the library and once every 2 weeks at the school.
Mm-hmm.
It really does take a piece of your day out. If there's no time limit for a visit, by the way, with TDI, which you're like, really? What if your dog was the most tolerant dog in the world and you decided you were going to try to bang out 2 hours for a therapy visit? I mean, which I think is crazy. It only counts as one visit. So it could be a 15-minute therapy visit, half hour, or 40. And we definitely don't go past, we don't really go past 40 minutes. And if there were probably a handful of times I can remember that I said, I think we're done now.
Yeah.
And
you do that at the library a lot.
At the library, I'm there for an hour.
But sometimes you're like, he's just exhausted today.
I know. There are some days that I can go over a little bit to accommodate that one last reader, but there are other days where I get out. And then one time in the classroom, I was like, I think we've had enough now. And I cut it a little short. But when Lily called me, I was like, oh my God, I did the same thing. You need to cut back so that you still like it.
Yeah. 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 For sure.
Yeah. It's like anything in life. And I think with the therapy stuff, like you want to help and like be available and do as much as you can because you know that it's benefiting, but you don't want to burn yourself and the dog out. Like Laurie takes Buddha on a really long walk, like every visit beforehand, like times out the whole day.
I know.
Before,
that's what it is.
When he eats, his washing, grooming schedule, walking
they can't
him.
No,
like
they gotta be clean.
Yeah, like everything is like mapped out you leave early. You never get there like right on time. Like you're always early, so you have time to get them ready and stuff. It's definitely a little bit of a process. I've noticed. I don't actually participate in this.
I mean, part of the problem was that TDI gives you ribbons or awards, right?
Right.
For if you make 50 visits a year, 100. And seeing as I might have a thing for,
Competition.
accomplishments, I was like, well, I need to at least get the 50 visits in, because that was the minimum to get the first award.
I'm not going to lie. Me too. I was like, 50 visits. I can bang this out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
And then I was like, this is not happening.
I definitely saw a drop after I did the 50. I was like, you have to calm down. Plus, I mean, it takes away from work.
Yeah.
But with you, like, I make my own schedule, but like Leah said, there were days where I felt like that dog needed to go, especially when he was younger. Not as much now, but I still bring him. I honest to God,
You always exercise.
I'll try to fit in a 2 to 3 right before we go. And then the kids are like, he's so tired. I'm like, yes. And so I was like, now it's, you're up. And I do the earliest class so that I can book for the rest of my day. But you would have a day off from work.
Right.
And you're a nurse.
Yeah.
And you're fixing kids in an OR all the time. And then you're like, this was my one day off. And poof, it's gone.
Gone.
Oh my goodness.
So be careful when you start booking your visits, guys. And, a half hour is adequate. It all depends on how many kids are around your dog. Like best buddies, I have 60 kids in the room. And thankfully, I have friends that help me with their therapy dogs and come and visit with me. Stormy, shout out to Reggie. She's always there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, she'll always bring a dog she has on hand that she's
working with.
That she's tested, because you cannot bring a dog you have not done the test
Obviously
with.
they're
So some of the
ready to
Tewksbury
go.
officers have allowed her to take the test.
That's right.
And then they come. And Julia with Haley and my Catherine, Penny, and Piper. Maybe someday Buddha and Bella
Yeah.
will do a visit together.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe if Raven ever calms down, I can do that with her too. But as of now, no.
She would just race through it would be drive-by petting.
Yep. And I wanted to say as well, as we close, first of all, Lily, thank you so much for sharing your experience. This has been awesome.
Sure.
And the reason why I think it's great to have a client on, just like with quotation marks, a normal person, is to be able to connect with those of you that are listening who own a dog and you just listen because you like hearing us talk about dogs. And the more I actually interact with people in the real world, the more I'm realizing that a lot of people do listen to the podcast before they do a lesson with us or when they're in the process of working with us. And I wanted to say that if you are one of those people listening, Lily goes above and beyond. So it's not our expectation when we work with people that you'll do as much as Lily and Bella do, but it is possible. And it's been really cool to see Lily and Bella work in this way. I think ultimately, we want to just work with people that are going to do the best for their dog, period. And for many people, that might just be doing basic training, like understanding how to crate your dog, how to manage their behavior so that bad behavior doesn't form. Like, again, like our expectation is not everybody be like Lily. But
oh my God, yeah, no.
So it's
That's
so
why
nice.
we had Lily on to scare you all.
Yeah, we don't want to scare you all away. But yeah, she's definitely somebody that has we're like, holy we never expected in a million years for to meet somebody like this and to have all these things happen. It's so cool.
Yeah, I remember the very first class I went to, and I think it was Juno, went into the middle of the circle and sat there, and then they recalled him or her, sorry. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the entire world, that a dog could just sit there in front of other dogs and then recall to their owner. And I was like, I hope someday I can do that.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You do that.
Yeah. And way more.
Yeah.
I've never not placed. that will be the title
Yeah.
of
I'm
this
gonna have
week's
to have a
episode.
sound clip that out for the Instagrammy.
You've won an Instagramming.
New award. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you're into what you're hearing, please like and subscribe to the podcast. It helps more people listen to these episodes. Again, Lily, thank you so much. This was awesome. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Ta-ta.
Bye.
Ta-ta.